So this starts to move out, like this is going to move differently. So this opens up when we have anteversion, and this is going to decrease and close in when it goes like this when we get retroversion. So this with retroversion comes closer together, and with anteversion this opens up that angle. Is that okay? It's hard to see because I can't do it on this, but you have to visualize what's going on. Yes?
Is this just a line from the anterior superior iliac spine to the knee?
Yep, that's this one, and then this one is just a straight up and down through the knee. So it's looking, if we look here straight up and down, and then the angle this way. Right? This angle is from my ACES down to my knee with respect to a pure vertical.
So it's just that.
And then it's this opening. Does that make sense? It's this opening. And everybody's is a little different. Women's tend to be more open because we have more out here. So the steeper this is, the bigger this gets. The more narrow this is, the smaller this gets. The narrower this were to come in, we have a less shallow, would be much smaller than if it were this. So it's just looking at that angle, Q angle. It's really in relationship to looking at how the knee gets loaded. So look at your Q angle. You'll see the likelihood of knee instability, patellar instability. Is that okay? Those are some hard concepts. I know those different angles. So we had coxa vara and coxa valga when we were looking at the frontal plane, the shaft in relationship to the head and the neck. So we were looking at this angle, and then we looked at the anteversion and retroversion when we were looking at this angle between the two. And then we have Q angle, which is looking at this angle. All right, separate those. Okay. Much easier. Flexion. Forward. Extension. Backwards. Right? With the hip. These are normal degrees. Flexion, we usually get between 70 and 140. That's a pretty big range depending on who you are. But that's pretty much the average of hip flexion. If this is 0, it's somewhere between 70 to 140. Hyperextension, sorry that got cut off for you. That number says 4 to 15 degrees, right here. Normal degrees that we go through every day, raising up from a chair, you tend to flex about 80 to 100 degrees to get up out of a chair. Climbing stairs, it's usually somewhere around 65 degrees when you're climbing up the stairs. Descending stairs is much less, it's only about 30 degrees of flexion. When we're walking, we get about 40 degrees of flexion and about full extension. Your full degree of extension, whatever that may be, normal values. Never going to ask you to memorize these, just giving you an idea of how much flexion and extension you tend to do in everyday activities. Ab and abduction. This one did not fit. Abduction goes out to the side. Adduction is coming in, crossing over. We get about 20 degrees of AD from the midline. So from here, you can get about 20 degrees this way. And then from here, we get about 30 degrees this way before the pelvic girdle has to kick in and help us. So this is looking at how many degrees we get just within this guy, the hip, without the pelvic girdle moving. We get about 30, we get about 20. Sternal rotation, outwards. Toes out. Internal rotation, toes in. Internally, we get about 70 degrees, and externally, we get about 90 degrees. And lastly, these don't have any normal values, but horizontal abduction. What is that going to look like in this femur? Horizontal abduction. Where is it going to go? It's here, and it goes this way, right? And horizontal AD is when it goes this way. And then what's circumduction? This. A cone. conic shape. Any questions on that? Pretty simple. Now let's go over the musculature.